Welcome. It's Facts You Don't Know. If it's your first time here and you want to find out new facts that will definitely make you smarter and more, well, and first make sure to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss anything.
We've all been there at one point or another, totally happy with a significant other when even just the hint of uncertainty clouds up all the sunniness that previously existed in the relationship. In fact, it's too often the case that a new relationship is going along bump-free for a few months or even longer, only to be disrupted by doubt. Sometimes it's overwhelming doubt. And an unanswered text or a seemingly harmless comment from your partner can hold the power to send us into an overwhelming spiral of it. If you've ever experienced this but emerged from the doubt roller coaster with your relationship intact, you likely know that for the most part the whole thing lives in your head. The problem of origin, the doubt itself. The power to overcome it. Still, those spirals can really put a damper on a relationship that's going well otherwise, which isn't fun for anyone. Anytime a person is fixated on finding their soulmate, certain behaviors exhibited by the object of their desire can lead to feelings of doubt. But Turecki says this usually has less to do with the other person and more to do with not knowing what you actually want out of a long-term relationship. After all, no one's absolutely perfect, but knowing what your priorities are in your significant other will help you stay open and set reasonable expectations for the other person and for yourself. It's normal to worry once in a while when you're in a relationship. You might fear that someday it will end or your spark will fade. But there are some things you should never have to doubt. If your guy's an amazing AF boyfriend, that is. A guy who's interested in you and cares about you will want to see you as much as he can. Period. If you have to worry that you won't see him because he's gone off the radar again or he'll make excuses to get out of yet another date, maybe he's not as great as you think. It's such a wonderful feeling to be able to trust a guy's words. When he says he'll call, he does. When he says he'll see you Saturday, he will. By being able to trust him on the little things, it makes it easier for you to trust him on the bigger things, such as when he tells you how he wants a future with you. No relationship's perfect. And you aren't going to always love 100% of the person you're with. But some apprehensions in a relationship hold more weight than others. There are some doubts about your relationship you should never ignore, as they could indicate trouble for the future. Some conflicts can be worked out naturally over time, but other relationship red flags require some serious contemplation on your end. My wife and I lived for almost 10 years, met at university. She taught us literature, and I was a student who was deeply in love. My parents were against such a union because she was older than me. Natalie came home from work and wearily began to collect bags. Her husband, Thomas, frowned. He knew that this did not bode well. Tomorrow is the first day on the calendar, which means that the wife is leaving again for a day or two to another business trip. These absences occurred strictly at the beginning of each month for 5 years. The woman was already tired of jealousy. He didn't believe his wife. It wasn't possible to ask the woman at work, as she worked as a freelancer and earned her money by sitting at home at the computer. The young man met Natalie 7 years ago. She came to the graduation ceremony at that day. Her younger sister studied there. The girl herself at that time was almost 30 years old. Thomas immediately fell in love, like a kid, with this mature woman. He was fascinated by her gorgeous hair, sweet smile, and eyes. They were bottomless. It's clear that the relatives of Thomas were not enthusiastic about such a connection. The girl was 10 years older than the boy. But despite the gossip, their wedding took place, and now for 5 years the couple enjoyed their family happiness, which was marred only by constant trips of Natalie. This time, a man suspecting his wife was in an affair finally decided to put an end to the story. He hired a detective to track his wife's mysterious trips. The wait was endless. Thomas couldn't find a place for himself until the detective called his mobile phone. He said that he managed to find out something, but this was necessary to meet at a nearby cafe. Like the facts are not appropriate to know via telephone. When the detective approached, Thomas was already finishing his second coffee. He was noticeably nervous, but the detective quickly reassured him, saying that Natalie would not have cheated as you think. But she doesn't go on a business trip. Here the spouse tensed up. He expected that now the detective would say something terrible. The detective said that every month in the early days, his wife visits the grave of her first spouse. He died a long time ago. He got in a car accident almost immediately after their wedding. Orphans of the orphanage had no relatives. No one looked after his grave. Therefore, the mission took on Natalie. She came, pulled out weeds, planted flowers, and brought wreaths. Why didn't you say? Thinking, Thomas wandered to the entrance of the house. Here, near the front door, he ran into Natalie, who was getting out of a taxi. Why didn't you tell me anything? The man asked her this question with such bitterness and resentment that the spouse immediately understood what he meant. The girl explained that she didn't talk about the first marriage and the death of her husband, since for her it was a huge loss. Still, she cannot survive grief. The woman was afraid that Thomas would simply not understand her and would be jealous of her late husband. The man hugged Natalie and said, "Honey, I understand you. Promise me there will be no more secrets." Natalie smiled and replied, "Oh, but one's already there. I'm waiting for a baby." Thomas just jumped with happiness. It became very embarrassing because she didn't tell me that I was so jealous when my wife returned. I had already prepared dinner. I cleaned the house and met her with a smile. "It's good that you returned. I'll go next time with you." My wife was amazed, but I explained everything and apologized for what I was thinking about her. "I'm sincerely proud of you." At that time, I realized that I have a kind of brilliant woman. Now he was able to forget his jealous thoughts because he cares about his family life. The most important thing is to trust, love, and the rest is worth nothing. Trust is an important part of the foundation of every healthy relationship. Since healthy relationships are a two-person job, it's important that both partners are consistent. Partners must keep their word and promises in order to improve trust. Trust exercises can be a fun way to build trust. Practice honesty and communication and bond with your partner. Thanks for watching. Please like and share the video in social networks. We'll be right back to you as fast as we can.